Good evening, all secondary mechanical engineering students. And today I am going to discuss about another casting process called die casting process. I'm Dr. Ram Subaya, Associate Professor, Mechanical Engineering Department, handling PT laboratory for both the sections, Mechanical A and Mechanical B secondary. And let us see how die casting process works out. So from the name itself, you people can tell that what is known by die casting. So with the help of a single die, we are going to manufacture the casting process. So die, everyone knows about die. Die is nothing but, we can also call it as a mold cavity. Die is nothing but mirror impression. Die will be having the mirror impression of the component that we are going to manufacture. So the die will be made into two half. One half will be having one half of the projection of the component that we are going to make. The other half of the die will be having the other half of the component projection that will be there on the other half of the die. When we assemble both the die, our full component will be coming. So normally one die will be kept as a movable die and other die will be kept as a fixed die. Always this fixed die will be attached with a plunger. We also call it as a ram. And you can see the diagram of hot chamber die casting. There are two types of die casting available. One is hot chamber, other one is cold chamber die casting. Hot chamber die casting is nothing but the furnace will be inbuilt inside the die casting equipment. The raw material will be poured inside the furnace and the raw material will be melted. Hot molten metal will be readily available inside the hot chamber die casting equipment itself. That hot molten metal will be stored on a chamber. We also call it as a storing tank. In that storing tank, that hot molten metal will be kept inside, and above the hot molten metal, a plunger will be there. That plunger will be attached with help of a gooseneck, or also we call it as a nozzle, which will be directly interrelated with our die cavity. So what will happen when the plungers is normally piston and cylinders. When we apply force on the plunger, what will happen? With the help of the pumping force, the hot molten metal gets into the gooseneck tube. With the help of gooseneck tube, it enters into the nozzle, and after the nozzle, we have kept the die in assembled condition. That is movable die half and the fixed die half. So the hot molten metal enters inside the die cavity. So once the hot molten metal enters the die cavity, it is kept idle for a few minutes, so that the hot molten metal will get solidified into the die cavity. Then what happened? There is an ejector pin available. That ejector pin is a support pin which will helps the movable die half and fixed die half to mate each other and get it locked together. So once the hot molten metal enters into the die cavity and gets solidified, these ejector pins are released so that the die cavity can be separated and the hot molten metal can be taken separately outside. The hot molten metal will be in solidified condition, but after solidified condition also we can find that the component will be hot in nature. So it will be taken. That is called as die casting hot chamber process. So the furnace will be kept inbuilt inside the equipment itself. That is called as hot chamber die casting. You can see the diagram for cold chamber die casting. The same type of setup will be there, but inbuilt furnace will not be there. So what happens? Furnace will be in one place and the die casting equipment will be on the other place. So we have to carry with the help of ladle. Furnace will be kept on the one place. So from that place we have to carry the hot molten metal with the help of a crucible or with the help of some lid. We have to take it and we have to pour it on the cold chamber die casting equipment. So in cold chamber die casting equipment also you can see the diagram. There will be two die half. One is movable die half, other one is fixed die half, and both are mated with the help of an ejector pin. And cavity is not but our mold cavity. So with the help of through the help of the ladle, we have to pour the hot molten metal into that cavity. Ram will be there. A plunger is provided where you can force all the hot molten metal into the die cavity. So when you apply some force on the ram, it gently pushes all the hot molten metal into your die cavity, and after a few minutes you can open the die with a projector pins so that all the hot molten metal will be solidified. The component can be taken outside safely. This is called as cold chamber die casting. So in cold chamber die casting, furnace will be kept in some other place and die cavity equipment will be kept in some other place. So we have to carry the hot molten metal from the furnace to the equipment with help of a ladle, and we have to pour it into the die cavity. That is called as cold chamber die casting. If you see the merits and demerits of die casting process. In die casting process, these are the following points we are having advantages. Good dimensional tolerance will be there. So whichever component you are manufacturing with help of die casting, for example, engine casting. Engine casting is fully made up of die casting. Good dimensional tolerances will be available, and the surface also will be smooth surface finish with the good dimensional accuracy of components will be available. Excellent part dimensional consistency. So you're making use of a die. With the help of the single die, you are going to manufacture thousands of components, thousands and lakhs of components. So when you manufacture the first two component, and when you manufacture the 1,000 component, both the surface finish will be same in nature. There won't be any differences. That's why we call it as excellent part to part dimensional consistency. Part requires minimal post machining. So once all the components are manufactured by die casting process, a very minimum machining process will be involved for getting a smooth surface finish. For example, you're manufacturing a component with help of die casting. After you see the component, a small grinding or some other smooth surface finish will be required for all the components. That can be done easily. So very minimum post machining will be required when compared to other casting process. The drawback will be it will be economical only when this process is done in mass production. For single production or batch production, this process will not be applicable because the cost of manufacturing in die is very high. When this process is done in mass production, then only economically and in other aspects the cost can be compensated in all the ways. Now recommended for hydrostatic pressure application, because when you apply hydrostatic pressure, there is a possibility that die may get fractured. So die is normally made with cast iron material. Cast iron is of course a brittle material. So when you apply some hydraulic pressure, there is a possibility that die may get fractured. The third point will be for castings wherever penetrant or radiographic inspection are not required. So whichever components are manufactured with die casting, we cannot apply non-destructive testing for identifying the defects. So that is not possible. Difficult to guarantee minimum mechanical properties. So in die casting, we can't expect mechanical property of the material like strength, like hardness, because uniformly the hot molten metal will not be distributed into the die. Some places it may distribute, some places it may not distribute properly. So it decreases the mechanical property of the material. So the application of this die casting process where you can see is manufacturing of small parts, justifying the high tooling cost. Parts are not structural and are not subjected to hydrostatic pressure. That is one of the drawback. So generally, normally, if you see die casting, manufacturing of gear, manufacturing of shaft, manufacturing of pulley, and small hinge castings can be made. Two-wheeler engine castings. They are all made with die casting equipment, and these are all the applications where we can find die casting in mechanical engineering sector. Thank you.